Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm so glad that you guys are here after such a long time of me not being here. Just to be really quick and say that I was definitely getting overwhelmed with school, and my dad was visiting from out of town for a couple months. And I really wanted to maximize all the time that I had with him and really focus on spending time with him because I love him. And since I had joined the military, I had not been able to spend a lot of time with my dad. And so since I'm out now and medically retired now from the Marine Corps, I am able to spend a lot more time and have a lot more free time to spend with my dad. And I also have been kind of getting dragged in the mud with school. School's definitely been putting me through the ringer. This semester, I am taking Portuguese and Spanish classes, like advanced Spanish classes. And so, because I am a Spanish major, and so that has been a time. And I am doing school full-time online. So that's another thing to add into the mix. And yeah, so I haven't been able to read very much. Actually, I started rereading Valor, which is Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. And this video is going to be about my top priority books and series, basically my TBR for 2025. And what better way to start out with other than with John Gwynne? I don't want to count Valor because I'm currently reading it, so I feel like that's not fair to put on the TBR because I'm literally reading it right now. I'm going to go to bed soon. I'm so excited to go to bed because before bed I always read, and that's usually when I have the time to read. This is Igor, by the way. He is my animal companion. He is my night eyes. He is my storm. All of my pets are, if we just combine them into one. But he's always next to me if I'm doing something, yeah. Anyway, so Ruin and Wrath, the third and the fourth book, respectively. And I am so excited to be emotionally damaged by this series. So if you don't know what The Faithful and Fallen is about, you're following multiple points of view as you're following a god war that was prophesied that a lot of people didn't really believe was going to happen, but it most certainly is happening. So you're dealing with the points of view of the giants and the humans, and the giants versus the humans, and the humans versus each other and the different kingdoms. And you're seeing how you think someone is good and they think they're good, but they're actually probably not. And you're seeing the prophecies come to life as the characters are seeing them come to life. I think John Gwynne, just as a person, seems like an all-around good person. I've seen interviews with him. I just love the way he presents himself, and I think that he is just an all-around good dude from what I have seen, and that made me want to pick up his books really bad. And just the thought of, I think Mike's book reviews had said that you see these young people turn into warriors and then turn into veterans. And it's like, that is all you've got to tell me. That is all you got to tell me, Mike. But I am loving that as I'm reading the second book, and I'm not spoiling anything here, you definitely get to see the humanity of sides that you thought you may not see. And it does feel like a living, breathing world, like Westeros. And so, as my next segue into the next books on my TBR, and I laugh about this because I'm scared. I'm so scared. Because I want to read all of this year. This would be so great. If I could read A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows, and A Dance with Dragons. Do I care that A Game of Thrones is not finished? No. Look, I bought all these books after just reading the first one. That is how much I felt about these books. That is how much I was like, yep, I'm going to want to read these books. Now, there are some things that George R. R. Martin does and writes about that concern certain female parts, even when they are young people. And it's him writing as the narrator, and that makes me uncomfortable. I don't know if that's exactly forgivable. I don't know his reasoning behind that, because it's like, oh, what if it's for the 13-year-old boys reading this book? And I'm like, well, what 13-year-old is going to read A Game of Thrones? Anyway, so Westeros, you're following A Game of Thrones for the first book. A Song of Ice and Fire. I read A Game of Thrones. If I called the series A Game of Thrones, it's just a habit. I know it's A Song of Ice and Fire. I read the first book. You know what? Something that really stood out to me was the relationship between an older sister and a younger sister, and how it really felt like my relationship with my older sister. Like, I felt like I was reading myself in a way that George R. R. Martin does female point of views so well, where I was like, George, how were you not a 12-year-old girl once? I don't know what else to say about these books and this series as a whole, because it is very complex, very political, because it is different kingdoms fighting for the throne, and you're also following many points of view. So you're not only getting the wide scope of things, but you are getting the individual pieces of the story. And I think that is something that I love so much, and that is also what I'm loving so much about The Faithful and the Fallen. And so I'm loving the grand scope of things and how complicated it is, but it definitely, like, once I start reading A Clash of Kings, I will have to go back to my page, which I have already read, but I have to go back to the page that is basically the spark notes of what happened in this book and the relationships between the specific people, because I already don't have a good memory because I have an autoimmune disease. So I need all the help I can get, okay? But I also want to bring you guys along for this journey, and I hope so much that I get to read this year and finish this, because these two, like, I'm probably going kind of in order about like the things that I want next on my TBR and my series goals. So the next books, which I may end up reading in between The Faithful and the Fallen and A Song of Ice and Fire, just to lighten things up a bit, is Harry Potter. I have the last 3 books, and I have heard that Order of the Phoenix, like, a lot of people don't like this book, but there are also a lot of people who say it's their favorite, so it's really just a big divide within the community for some reason. But I hear that it is one of the most emotional, and that it is, like, really just a teen drama sort of thing. And if you don't know what Harry Potter is about, I'm not going to explain it, because you should know what Harry Potter is about. Okay. And I want to read it because I never read these as a kid. I also didn't read Percy Jackson as a kid. I only read A Sea of Monsters because I didn't know any of the other books existed. But I did grow up with the Harry Potter movies. And also I am a stan on do not compare Percy Jackson and Harry Potter, because why would you do that? They're not really comparable unless you're saying that Percy Jackson and the Battle of Olympians, or whatever it's called, unless you're saying that it has a lot of parallels to Harry Potter, in which it does, because it came after. But they're completely different. And Harry Potter is definitely a lot more complex emotionally, plot-wise. There's a lot more elements. Don't even get me started on it, because I was already getting started on it. I don't want, that's not what this video is about. But if you do want a video to have to do with those kind of things once I finish that series, I would love to, because I feel like those two series are compared a lot, and I don't really feel like it's a fair comparison, but I digress. So the next one that I want to read is Percy Jackson. No, I'm kidding, I already finished. So actually, what order do I want to go? I'm sorry, I'm talking away from you. I think that the next thing I have to read is Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest. And I do feel like part of me has backed away from it, because when I was reading, so I got halfway through this book and then I stopped because I was getting depressed. And it was a lot of personal stuff. It didn't have as much to do with the book, but I think that the book was like bringing up stuff and making me like spiral for some reason. And I think it's just because our main character is going through a lot, and I was also not in the best headspace, but I'm doing much better. Thank you for asking. Thank you. And I do love the cliffhanger that ends off on. I was loving, even half of this book that I had read. And I know that there are some people, Mike, who say that Assassin's Quest is the weakest in the series. And then there are people who are like Captured in Words, who says, well, the first book is weaker, and then the second and the third are better than the first. And so I feel like now I can go in with a neutral kind of opinion, because I have heard different opinions, and I do definitely want to form my own opinions about the books that I read as best as I can, even though I am definitely addicted to YouTube and BookTube, and that is like all I watch, so I'm always listening to people's opinions on things. But I will try my absolute best to form my own opinions on this. So I don't have it here right now, but The Eye of the World, my husband is absolutely loving reading it, and I actually bought it for myself to read, but one of my husband's friends had kind of sold the book to both of us, in the sense of, he was like, oh yeah, this is like one of my favorite series, blah blah blah, and obviously he talks about the slog and everything like that, but I would say that at least The Eye of the World would be something that I would like to read this year. I can't commit to the entire series, but I would definitely like to do a vlog form, like not live reactions, but as live reaction as I can get, because I'm definitely not going to be sitting by my camera 24/7. Like, you guys are going to get my reactions, and I like, even if I have to run across the house and go to my camera, like that's what I'm going to do. So I am definitely interested in reading The Eye of the World. I don't know very much about it. I know that the first book is I know that the first book is an homage to The Lord of the Rings, as a lot of people like to say, and then it kind of forms into its own thing, and then there's a slug and blah, blah, blah. So all I know is that it is like Lord of the Rings, but develops into its own story, and it is covered over 14 books. And I think that the idea of, I swear to goodness, these cats, the idea of being within a world for so long makes me so excited. And I feel like that's why I have such a long series on this list. And then I do have a YA book that I would like to read, and that is Aragon. And it is because I was brought up on the movie, but hear that the book is better and that the movie sucked. But I liked the movie when I was young, except for the villain. I was quite terrified of him. This is your classic, like, there's a farm boy, he sees a dragon egg, and then he forms a bond with this dragon, and then I guess it's like good versus evil sort of situation. I have a lot of respect for Christopher Paolini because he wrote this series when he was like 14, 15 years old, or because I can't remember if he wrote it then, but I believe it was published when he was 15. And his parents, you know, gathered up the money to be able to publish this, and I love dragons, and I think that, like, to have that amount of creativity to be to the point where you, like, have a successful series is very, very exciting. And I would like to read this whole series, but I would say for this official TBR, I just want to have Aragon on here and then see how I feel about it and then move on. And it would be definitely something that I would like to put in between my bigger reads. Now, I don't have it, but I really, really, and this is going to be my last one because I feel like this book stack is kind of scaring me a little bit. And let's just, and guys, I have a long torso, okay? Like, this is, and it's not even like you see, never mind, I'm not even gonna get into it. Okay. So I would like to read the first book in the Witcher series, and that is mainly because one of my bestest friends had said, hey, I really want to read The Witcher, like, it sounds really interesting. And I've definitely heard a lot of people talk about it. Obviously, it's a well-renowned and loved series. I know that my husband loved Witcher 3, the game, and that a lot of people love the show until obviously it started making fun of the books and Henry Cavill left. So I'm definitely interested because I think it is partly like out of my comfort zone, considering I have read the prologue or the first chapter. I think it's a prologue where the Witcher is doing some things with a wood nymph, I think. Wood nymph? I'm not sure what kind of nymph she is, but yeah, he's doing things with her. And it wasn't overly graphic in a way that made me uncomfortable. I was just kind of like, okay, way to set the stage for this book. But I'm interested in Geralt. I'm interested in his journey and how he's the Witcher and he's supposed to like fight monsters, but like he realizes that the people who want the monsters gone are honestly worse than the monsters themselves. And I don't know, I just think that the premise is really interesting, and for it to be so loved, like I feel like I will really like it, and that'll be something very, very different that I would definitely like to experience and, you know, become a part of the conversation. And even if I just read the first couple books, I would definitely like your opinion on that and tell me like, oh, if you've read up to this book then and you still don't like it, then you need to stop. Or, you know, if it's like one of those situations where it's like, oh, if you read the first 150 pages, you may not like it, but that next 100 is really good. I actually like that opinion because it kind of sets me up for my expectations without making me feel a certain way. It just kind of was like, oh, okay, like, at least I know if I am not liking it, there's still hope. And that is all I can hope for. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming to visit my channel. I hope that you stay and that we can talk all things books together. I would love to create a Discord sometime soon and just be able to talk to everyone on a more daily basis, and, you know, maybe start up a book club and, you know, try to be like a nice chill place to be on the internet, because I feel like, you know, we all need that. We need a little bit of a getaway, okay? But yeah, so this is my my priority TBR, my priority series, my priority books. Of course, every book that I'm reading is not a standalone. It is all a series. But I honestly love series. I'm not complaining at all whatsoever. I'm not complaining about the length of these books. However, will I get to all of these this year? I don't know, but my goal is 25 to 50 books, and I have not read a singular one yet. I'm like halfway through Valor. And we're like almost halfway through February, so I really gotta pick it up. But I read a lot for school, so there's also that. And I read the Bible every day. I mean, you know, we can count that too. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. I hope to see you guys very soon. God bless.
My gosh, she's gorgeous, a beauty, always wonderful, precious.